Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Good evening. How you doing? Fade to Black, Bespoke Radio for the masses. Today is Wednesday, September 7th. 251 days into the new year. Just 115 days left. We're starting to count it down now. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What's going on, everybody? I want to say before I get to tonight's show that I realize how this show resonates with all of you. I get that. And if it doesn't, it's resonating, right? It's brewing. It's cooking on a crock pot. And it will eventually get to you. But the last few months have been absolutely phenomenal on the show. The last couple of weeks have been phenomenalier. And then we have this week, and then we have last night. And the email, the post. Margot got down last night. And I just want to say thank you so much to Margot and Tiff. And that's, I'm just going to leave it at that. It was a remarkable evening last night on the show, and we're going to continue it right now, tonight, because we have special guest Caroline Cory is with us. And although she's from Los Angeles or lives here, she's actually in Paris tonight. So she's coming to us live from Paris, France. And we're going to talk about mind mastery. We're going to talk about consciousness and consciousness expansion, spiritual awareness. We're going to talk a little DNA reconfig, some 0-point healing techniques. And if you haven't already, take the time after the show tonight, after listening to Caroline, and go and check out a couple of. She's got more than a few meditation videos online. Go and check them out. They're really good. And I have, by the way, okay? I've meditated to Caroline, and I have done it, and she does it really well. So go and check those out tonight after the show. Tomorrow is another Fader night with John Rappaport, his No More Fake Newsroom. We're going to have open lines. And after the last few weeks on the show have just been truly amazing for me personally. So we'll talk about all of that tomorrow night on the show. Open lines 323-825-5045. Now, you can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Caroline is hers is Omnium Universe, and I've just tweeted that out. So go and follow Caroline. She's popped in a couple of times and tweeted over the last week. So maybe. I'm sure she's listening right now. Caroline, pop in and say hello to everybody. All right. A big family hello to Caroline in Twitter. You can follow us now and use hashtag F2B. That is the sandbox. Okay? And that's where all the conversation happens. Well, there and the KGRA chat room, and, of course, the Spreaker chat room where all of the Fadernauts just hang out, and I try to pop in a couple of times a night and make sure that everybody is behaving. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions or comments during the show, use the hashtag F2BQ. Fade to Black questions. Very simple. All right, let's go. Love the dancing robots. Thank you, Barrett. That's actually pretty cool. What was this guy's name again? I can't even remember from the new Star Wars. What was his name? He was pretty cool, actually. Like, yeah, some of these are pretty cool tonight in Twitter. I'm actually going through. Yes. Who did the Van Halen? Oh, John Proctor. Okay. Yeah, you're always going to get a retweet on that. Let me go back and grab this one. That's pretty cool. I think that's the. Let me look again. Is that the Jump video? Is it? I can't tell. He's got a screenshot from an old Van Halen. All right. David Icke is going to be in the United States this week. Yes. And you will be able to see him live this week in New York City on his worldwide Wake Up Tour. It's this Saturday night in New York. And next week, he's going to be here in Los Angeles, California on the 17th. And right here in Los Angeles, and we are going to be there. The Fade to Black crew is going to be there. Fadernauts are going to be there en masse. And San Francisco up at the Crane Way on the 24th of September. 3 Saturdays in a row. Just click on his banner right now over at jimmychurchradio.com. Swing you straight over to David Icke and his ticket page so you don't have to navigate. You just click on his banner. Just go over. Tickets and info are there. It's going to blow out the United States this week, and I cannot wait. All right. And while you're there, go to CCCP Publishing. Click on their banner. It's right there at jimmychurchradio.com, and you can order Future Esoteric by author Brad Olson right now for the very special Fadernaut price of $12.97 right now. And when you do and use the promo code Jimmy, they will throw a free book in the box just for you because you're a Fadernaut. And Life Change Tea, oh, man. I hope Ronnie's listening. We drained our bag of colostrum yesterday. Man, we had to shake the powder out. The last... Oh, man, I felt like a drug addict. And, yeah, man. And we are continuing on with our pine bark and Eighth Element regimen this month. We've got about another week to go. Feel good, though. GetTheTea.com. Just click on the banner right now. Use Jimmy when you order, either over the phone or online, and you will get free shipping. GetTheTea.com. Life Change Tea. And the Fadernaut special right now from Studio Dome, which is a stereo Bluetooth sound system featuring the new TWS True Wireless Stereo Technology. Stereo Bluetooth technology. 2 SBB2 speakers in a hard shell case, power cables, ready to go. $129 OTD out the door. 60% off the normal price of $399. Use the promo code JCRTWS, and you will also get free shipping. Best deal on the net, and that is no joke. All right. Let's get this show cracking, everybody. I'm ready. Man, last night after Margot, that was a brutal show. In that it was enlightening. It freaked me out. Couple of points there where I was watching her take calls and flip the cards before the calls came in. Right? Before she answered each call, she was ready. I was like, wow, how does she do it? Man. After that show last night, I was just, I was beat down. That was heavy stuff. That was a good show last night, Margot. Good job. All right. Happy birthday to the one and only Tom Everett Scott. Now, today he's 46. Before you go, wait, whoa, church, okay? You know, you drop stuff on us every night, but who is Tom Everett Scott? Let me tell you who Tom Everett Scott is. First off, he's badass. He's the drummer, Guy Patterson, in that movie, That Thing You Do. That is Tom Everett Scott. And I love that guy, and I love that movie. A couple of months ago, and I'm not making this up either, man. I'm just being real straight with you. A couple of months ago, Rita and I watched it twice, back to back. Just got to the end of the movie, started it over, going through the script, going through trivia, where it was filmed, how it was done, who was who, all of it. And by the way, that was Tom Hanks that played the Spartacus drum solo that Guy Patterson plays in the movie. That's actually Tom Hanks playing the drums. Here's a little trivia for you. Michael Emerson today is 43. He played Ben Linus, the little dude, the crazy dude in Lost. All right. Our dead guy's birthday today is Eazy-E. 1963 to 1995. Died at the age of 31. I talked about this last month. And, oh, man, I love my Starbucks. Starbucks, are you listening? Talked about him last month, and I told everybody what my memory was of the events. Well, anyway, happy birthday, Eazy-E. I'm going to get to that in a second. Of course, he was a member of NWA with Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and Straight Outta Compton, right? The founder of Ruthless Records. But when I had my little moment, I just hung out with him like twice, right? No big deal. I was just his sales guy, but we were able to hang out all day and talk. And he was a very, very cool dude, very smart guy too, very bright. And my memory is, now remember, this is 20 years ago. My memory was right after I'd done my thing with him, I came home one night, and it seemed like it was like 2 weeks later. That's what I had said, because it was just like, wow, because it was on the news, and he had passed of AIDS. I was like, wait, what? I was just how does that happen, right? Well, today, I did a little investigation, and it was on February 24th, 1995. He was admitted to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center here in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, where he thought he had asthma. Instead, he was diagnosed with AIDS. And he announced his illness in a public statement on March 16th. March, 2 weeks later, 1995. He then made amends with Ice Cube and Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, and then he drafted a final message to his fans. On March 26th, 1 month later, at approximately 6:35 p.m., he died from complications of AIDS 1 month after his diagnosis, which fits my memory, and going and reading it and confirming it today was just a weird experience for me to go through, because he was totally normal, totally had his mind, everything, man. He didn't look sick at all. It was really trippy. But there you go. Happy birthday, Easy. You changed the world, man. And, 1995, I don't even think you had a clue as to your influence on music and culture for years to come. So there you go. Happy birthday, Easy. On this day in history, 1996. Interesting. Tupac Shakur is shot in Las Vegas. And then he died in a hospital several days later. Kind of weird. Tupac shot on Eazy-E's birthday. It's just one of those things, right? A fader fact for you. If we all consumed as much as the average U.S. citizen, now we're talking about, everybody, the world. Listen to this. If we all consumed as much as the average U.S. citizen, we would need 4.8 Earths to sustain ourselves. That's how messed up it is here. That's why everybody wants to live here. Right there. There's the proof right there. 4.8 Earths to sustain ourselves. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Caroline Cory, is here. And we're going to talk about everything. We're going to go in every direction. mind mastery. We're going to go into consciousness and spiritual awareness, DNA reconfig, 0-point healing techniques. We're going to do it all. And then tomorrow night, we're going to get some aliens in tonight, too. Don't you worry. Tomorrow night, Fader night, open lines. John Rappaport's going to be here with his No More Fake newsroom. Now, a couple of things that I just got a rant on. The Islamic State, ISS. Yeah, I don't talk about them anymore. I really don't care much. But this is probably the funniest, or like really funny, funny news that I can report. Because they are banning women from wearing the burqa. Yeah, the veil that they use to cover the woman's entire face. And they are saying it is a security precaution. I'm not making this up, folks. It's because, well, right now, it's not a universal law. It's just in the Iraqi city of Mosul. The new rule is striking in part because they have beaten and killed women in the past for refusing to wear a burqa. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Do they know what they're doing? Well, of course not. Is it a religious thing? Their caliphate. Of course it's not. It's a joke. So if you are going to be an OG, hardcore, fundamentalist, terrorist group, you need to live by what you talk about. And if you're going around killing women, right? Beating women for not wearing burqas, and then you turn around and tell them that they can't wear them, what are you doing? That is disorganization. Rita, did you hear that? I used the word disorganization. They banned burqas after a group of veiled women carried out attacks on several ISIS commanders in Mosul. Yeah. And ISIS doesn't know who's under the burqa. If it's a man or if it's a woman, if they've got guns, if they've got grenades, if they're wearing some kind of suicide IED carrying burqa wearers. They don't know now. They don't trust anybody. And so the only way around it now, I have read a couple of reports from some insiders in Mosul that are saying, and this is where it gets really nuts, in lieu of the burqa, they are making them wear a piece of gauze bandage that you put on a wound, cut it into a square, and they're making them tape 2 squares, one over each eye. Before you go, church, yes. And apparently, another report that gloves are an issue, right? The hands, the gloves, and it's gauze on the hands instead of gloves. I don't know what's going on, but that is the funniest news of the day. They can't even trust, can't even walk down the street. You gotta love it. A radio reporter, I was talking about CRISPR the other day, and CRISPR freaks me out. CRISPR 100% freaks me out, scares me to death. A radio reporter was served what may have been the first ever meal made from plants modified with so-called CRISPR-Cas9 genetic scissors. Did it over the weekend. I can't make this stuff up, folks. The meal, a vegetable fry that a professor from Umeå University in Sweden cooked up. Man, Maria called last night from Sweden. Should have asked her about this. Now, this is This is where it gets nuts. It has been hailed by the university as a first step toward the future in which scientists can genetically alter plants so farmers and consumers can grow healthy and hardy plants that are adaptive to new conditions. Now, to be sure, and you need to understand that CRISPR scissors, and that's CRISPR, by the way, CRISPR scissors allow scientists to target specific genes in a DNA strand. And then they cut them and removed those strand segments that they don't want. CRISPR can replace a single alphabetic piece of an organism's genome. Or they could go out and cut out an entire sequence. Now, I get the breakthrough technology. I get it. And this is science fiction stuff for real. But do we really need to do it? Do we really need to do it? Let me tell you something. If we knew in advance that Richard Ramirez, right, the Night Stalker, if we knew in advance how to CRISPR his DNA and cut out the serial killer part and reassemble, let him, do we do that? Do we go that far? Or is there, to get to perfection of everything, everything's got to be perfect. Nobody gets colds. Everybody's smart. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's it. Nobody's fat. Nobody's thin. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's got muscles and everybody's got this and the perfect butt and shoulders and waist and knowledge. Do we go there and then turn around and eat, what is assumed to be perfect food? Perfect. Everything's going to be perfect. I got problems with it. I'm telling you right now. That's why John Teeter came back. Had to go find them CRISPR scissors in 1999. It's going to mess everything up. Law enforcement officials, this story is real. It's been traveling around for about the last 24 hours, and lots of reports and more stuff today. And I don't know what's going on. We have a lot of friends in North and South Carolina that listen to this show. And I've been watching this. I've been reading your email. I get it. But right now, they are looking for suspects that are dressing up in clown costumes who have tried in recent weeks to lure children into the woods with treats. In North Carolina, in Winston-Salem, the police there received a call this past Sunday night about a clown looking to lure children into the woods. And at least 2 children saw the clown, and 1 adult heard the clown, but did not actually witness the suspect. But the suspect fled when the officers arrived on the scene. Another clown sighting was reported a few hours later about 2 miles away. A similar case recently was reported 175 miles away in Greensville, South Carolina, where people received reports of people dressed as clowns. And this was in late August, by the way. Doesn't make any sense. A woman told officials her son had seen clowns in the woods, whispering and making strange noises. One 12-year-old told deputies he saw 2 clowns in his backyard. Today, there were reports that police responded to a guy chasing a clown back into the woods with a machete. Now, they caught the dude with the machete. They didn't catch dude, or I'm assuming it's a guy, dressed as a clown. Now, I don't know if this is copycat stuff at 175 miles apart. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't get it. But nobody likes clowns. And I'll remind everybody right now, killer clowns from outer space. Right? Okay? I've seen the movie. We don't need this copycat stuff going on. It's not funny. Clowns are creepy, and it's just wrong. I don't know what's going on. And it's real, too. That's the thing. Who dresses up in a clown suit, hangs out at the edge of the woods, and wants to lure? Yeah, thank you, John. That's pretty good. Oh, man. Eric, man, quit posting the porn. Come on, pull that down. That's not cool. There's kids on this feed. Come on, Eric. Get your mind back in the right spot. All right. Children in Orlando, Florida. Speaking of children. Children in Orlando, Florida, as young as 3, may get a little Disney magic right at the entrance to the park, as they will now be required to have their fingers scanned. And they're calling it an anti-fraud measure. And it's all over social media right now, and it has taken off. But here's a quote. Walt Disney World has begun requiring children from 3 to 9 years old to have their fingers scanned when they enter the theme parks, just like older kids and adults, to block the use of stolen and shared tickets. Now, if somebody between the ages of 3 to 9 is smart enough and to hang out with their parents and share a ticket, let them. 52 million people go to Walt Disney World every single year. Guys make money hand over fist. Man, let the kids through. Let them through. All right. Here's the creepy news story of the day. The United Kingdom Metropolitan Police soon will be able to use specially designed bags known as spit hoods to cover suspects' heads during arrest in police stations. The mesh bags, and that's what they are, right over the head and tied, are used to restrain suspects and protect the police from those who might try to bite or spit at them. The Met insists that the hoods prevents exposure to diseases and serious infection. Spit hoods are not to be used on the streets initially. That's the key word, because they don't want to freak out the public. The measure has been controversial with human rights groups, though, and they think it's an alarming development and cruel and degrading. I agree. The device may breach suspects' rights, too, with some police chiefs suggesting that the hoods resemble the trappings adopted at Guantanamo Bay. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's get Caroline Cory in here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow Caroline at Omnium Universe, at Omnium Universe. It is right there in Twitter right now. All right. She's in the batter's box, live from Paris. Caroline Cory up next. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously. Give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. Ronnie here reminding you that June is Health Awareness Month, sponsored by GetTheTea.com. Many of you have heard our tea commercial, maybe visited the website, but haven't committed because, well, you just don't know. Skeptical. We understand. Just to remind you, our tea is not just tea. In fact, very little tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs, removing intruders that attack your health. You brew our tea to make the concentrate, you add water, and put in the fridge. 2 8-ounce glasses a day, and life will be good. Visit us at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And this month is lots of fun stuff with Health Awareness Month. You could be picked and receive your order absolutely free. You never know. Read the testimonies and try our products. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And for great health tips, visit my YouTube channel at Health Matters Now, where you can learn about health tips and how products work on your body. Join me, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader-Knots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a week. What a week last week and the week before. Tonight, the excellence continues, I'm telling you. Tonight, Caroline Cory is with us. We're going to be talking about mind mastery and consciousness and DNA reconfig and zero-point healing techniques. We're going to cover everything tonight. She is a futurist. She's a visionary. She is the founder of the Omnium method. And even though Caroline completed graduate studies in psychology with a minor in philosophy, most of her knowledge and deeper awareness came about through direct experience. And we're going to get to all of that in just a couple of seconds right at the front of the show. Her encounter with the worlds of consciousness, energy, medicine, and spirituality started at the early age of 5 when she spontaneously began to perceive various forms of subtle energy. With time, her ability to perceive and discern subtle energy with precision allowed her to identify what source energy really is. We're going to talk about that tonight. And she could experience and understand more deeply the cosmic roadmap and the structure of consciousness, the multidimensional configuration of the human body and mind, as well as the construct of earthly reality. And of course, her website is omniumuniverse.com. And I would like to welcome to Fade to Black for the first time, live from Paris, France, everybody, Caroline Cory. Good evening. Good morning, actually, Caroline.
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, it is 4:30 a.m. here.
Oh, man. Thank you. And I hope you're drinking some, French roast coffee and you're not doing tea. Just tell me that.
I am definitely. But I'm also jet lagged because I'm really based in Los Angeles. So I'm just traveling here for now.
Okay.
So,
well, fair enough. That's an even greater need for a French press with French roast, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I'm so with you right now. And welcome to the show. And what you're going to get right now is the first-time guest disclaimer. And it's an honor that you're going to get this now, Caroline, but the next time you're on the show, you won't get it, and you'll remember this. And, and this is the disclaimer. It's just you and I sitting on my couch, having a conversation as friends. And where we start, we start. Where we end, but we're going to end as friends. Are you ready?
Sounds awesome.
Now, I do want to say this to the audience really quick. Caroline and I were talking before the show, and she goes, Jimmy, how come it took you so long to get me on as a guest? And my answer is, I'm going to say this to the audience now. I'm so happy to have you here, one. But two, my wish list for guest is so long. You know what I mean? And I promise you, Caroline, 2 or 3 years from now, I'm going to make a phone call to somebody that I've always wanted on the show, and they're going to go, dude, 6 years it took you, right? But it's just, that's how long the list is, okay? But we finally got you here, and very, very excited to finally have you here. So let's kind of, with you, as I had mentioned earlier in the show, is we can go anywhere with you. And the conversation tonight, I'm going to try to keep it on track, but it's got the potential of going in any different direction in subjects that I'm totally fascinated with, and so is the audience. And we're going to do all of that. And the other thing I didn't mention, everybody, Caroline is in this latest season 2 of Ancient Aliens as well, and we're going to also try to wiggle that into the conversation tonight. But where I would like to start, which is kind of a logical place, is I want to go right to the age of 5 and what happened there. And what I'm even more interested in is, what were your parents like at that time? And did you turn around and run to your mom or your dad and tell them about what was going on? Take me back to that moment.
Okay, that's a good start. So I was 5 years old. We were just in the living room, my parents' living room, and all of a sudden I just see this energy floating around just next to me. So of course I look around to make sure, I was wondering, can everybody see that, or is it just me? And I realized everybody was just minding their own business. So this energy felt amazing, and we kind of just connected, and we started to communicate telepathically. It was spontaneous, and of course they told me it was kind of a group of being contained within this energy, and they kind of told me, and I felt that we were of the same lineage type thing. So it's like a recognition of that energy. And they kind of told me that they were going to be with me my whole life, and that we were going to be talking my whole life, telepathically this way. And the energy was so amazing. I kind of didn't want to go back, and my parents didn't even pay attention. I wasn't scared at all. In fact, I loved it. And that was my first encounter with the other side, let's say, with the other world. It was absolutely amazing.
What was, when you say they said, and that you were conversing, how did that go down? Were they speaking to you at a 5-year-old's level? Were you understanding what they were trying to say?
Absolutely. It was very natural. It's kind of like it's not a conversation in words. It's more thoughts that are transferred very quickly. So I'm sure the whole experience took about maybe 3 minutes or something like that. But we had a whole longer conversation because, I understood within these 3 minutes the type of consciousness that they were, where they came from, how long they've been with me, and who I was how I was connecting to them, where I had come from. Like, all of this information was contained within a thought form that gets transferred from their consciousness to mine. That's how telepathic communication really happens. And you're not 5 years old, you are consciousness,
Right. And your parents, what happened with that?
Actually, I didn't say anything because nobody paid attention, and I also felt that they wouldn't get it. They didn't feel anything, they didn't sense anything, and I actually liked just being in my own space, in my own world. You know how you hear a lot of children saying I have an invisible friend, and they're kind of going on in their own world. And I think in a strange way, it's actually healthy. But in my case, I kind of didn't want to share, and I felt like nobody would get it anyway. So that's how I got away with it, if you will.
Okay. And how often did this communication happen after that?
So it was on and off. It wasn't continuous. It's kind of like that was a huge moment, and then they kind of disappeared, or it kind of stayed in the background, like a little, I could just feel a supportive energy with me, but there wasn't actual conversation going on. And then, for example, when I was 10 years old, I had another episode like that. And then when I was 14 and I was 17, kind of like every few years, I would have one of those big conversations. So that's how I kept going with this whole, information and connection throughout my life.
Did you guys have names for each other? You know what I mean? It was, I'm not making fun. I'm being very serious. Would you call out? Did you have a switch that you would turn on and off, or was it uninvited?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, actually. So what happens, Jimmy, actually, is when you connect with consciousness at that level, there is no introduction like in names and, where you come from, things like that. It's an instant recognition, and it's beyond like the human cognitive brain, if you will. And so it's on a cellular level, and it's something that you recognize. It's like a tone. It's like it's hard to describe because it's not human, it's not, you're not using your human brain. So it's a sense of energy that's within you. So you kind of go there, and and that's how you connect. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And did it scare you at all?
Not at all. Like I said, because I kind of recognized this energy. I felt that was home. In fact, I felt, where have you been all my life? It was like so refreshing. It was this calm, a deep, profound, truthful connection to something, that was so much better than actually the human realm. And that's what kept me kind of interested. There was no fear whatsoever.
Did you talk to, as you grew up, did you talk to your friends? Did you confide with your friends about what was going on?
No, not at all. Actually, I thought maybe all my friends had the same experiences, because you don't know what's, as a child, you don't know like anything special is going on. You think everybody's going through the same experiences, or you just, I don't know. I just kind of kept it to myself. And also, it's, like there is an inner sense that this is your personal sacred space, And so I didn't really talk about it for a very, very long time, until much, much, much later when I had another massive experience. I mean, that was... let me think. It was like 1997, something like that. And at that time, I kind of I kind of reconnected with this energy, and that experience was huge. I kind of saw the whole kind of lineage. I saw my whole like spirit family, if you will,
right.
And I understood that also, that this whole thing was very much planned. My whole life, being on the earth, doing specific things, and when I was going to be done, I was going to go back to this energy. So.
When you were, let me ask you this: when you went to college, did you? Because now you're a young adult, and were you looking at not only your friends but teachers and professors and others? Were you able to look at them and sense goodness or a negative side? And did that alter your perception on life and how you went through college?
Yeah, absolutely. I was studying psychology and I understood, I mean, I could see and sense and understand things way, way, way beyond that. Because since I was 5, since that very first experience, I realized that I could perceive the subtle energy, meaning I perceived that energy that was next to me. I could see let's say, the subtle energy of a person's consciousness. Now, that's not what people call the aura. That's not the same thing. Subtle energy is everything from, the structure of space, the electromagnetic. I could even see people's thoughts, people's emotions, and I could discern the difference. I mean, this was a whole different level of existing on the planet.
It almost sounds like a problem. I mean,
I know what you mean. It is and it isn't. So what happened was it was gradually kind of getting stronger and stronger. And first, I mean, I was able to maintain my balance. But going back to your question about college and teachers and things like that, it was as if I was living in two worlds. It's like when I was focusing on them, I could focus on them and I get them and understand their reality. And then when I focused on the other kind of bigger reality, if you will, I was comfortable in that. So I was kind of walking between both worlds and going back and forth. That's how I felt I could handle it.
Yeah, especially as a psychology major, right? And your minor in philosophy, and you have this enlightenment thing going on in your other life, right? In your other world. Were you calling BS on a lot of the stuff that was being presented in psychology and philosophy in those courses?
Yeah, not so much BS. It felt so small. It felt It felt so limited. It was like that's why at the end I was like, "What am I doing here?" Everything is very easily, categorized. Like if you have this sort of problems, a list of problems, then you probably have a mother issue or a father issue or that sort of addiction or complex or something like that. It's very simplistic and small. So that's kind of how I looked at. That's how I felt about it.
Did you rebel at all? Did you ever stand up and say the professor is wrong?
It was more of an internal kind of experience. Like, for example, we also, as a psychologist, you're taught to just listen to people's problems, right?
Right.
So when I was in my master's doing, listening to practice, so we were training to listen to people's problems. So I could just feel that wasn't very helpful. I mean, it was helpful to a certain extent, but the person was going on and on and on and on about their bad experience. And I was feeling all this negative, stuff pouring at me, and I just kind of could sense that was just not the right way, and so I kept this whole experience very internal. I was trying to figure it out within myself. So that's kind of how I survived through this whole thing. Not so much talking about it, but I guess the way I rebelled, it's like I didn't go to class that much.
Right.
I would just like show up just before the test. I would just skim through the book and I would just pass. It was because I thought it was very simplistic and easy.
Right.
So that's that was my way of, rebellious, being rebellious.
It must have been an interesting time for you. And then you went into the entertainment industry and going from a psych major to the entertainment industry is, that's an interesting career path in it of itself. And tell me about that. And what did you exactly do as your career path at that point?
Yeah, so that was precisely what I was getting turned off by the whole academic, way of understanding things, of trying to help people, that I said, I think I need a break from all of this. And at the same time, I was, taking dance classes and, singing class, those types of things. And I thought, I think I'm not going to do psychology or be a therapist for a while. I think I'm going to go do fun stuff for myself. So that's how I got into the performing arts. So I started studying, dance, choreography, and stage, things like that, productions. And I started working as, for example, a director for sporting events or corporate events and things like that. And I did a few very, very, very cool concerts. I was having a great time. So that was, I guess, the rebellious aspect in me. I was like, I'm done with this this old paradigm way of learning, and that's what I want to do for now, and just have fun. So that's how I got into this.
And then the second major event kicks in. And what was that? And how was that an epiphany?
Yeah, so I did this performing arts. I was doing concerts and sporting events all over the world, and I was having a good time. But my other life, if you will, was getting stronger and stronger and deeper and more profound. And this is when I had those bigger experiences. It kind of like interrupted what I was doing. It was, okay, it's time to go back and focus on this now, your real life or what you came to do, so to speak. And so I had this very, very powerful experience, like I said, with this group of being, and it felt it was, again, a reminder that I was here to do specific things. My consciousness was capable of doing specific things. That's the reason why I could see subtle energy in the way I did, to understand like the mechanics of consciousness and of life, let's say, in a particular way, because I was going to use that energy, the way I use my consciousness to do certain things here. And it was time. So that's why I completely switched to doing this type of work. And of course, at the same time, I realized I was healing people right and left with the spontaneously. And I got into, it very seriously from that point onwards. Yeah.
We're going to talk about this a little bit deeper in just a bit. But before the break, one of the things that you do is you have a lot of technical information and a lot of technical knowledge that even for me, and I'm not the smartest guy out there, but it's heavy and it's math based, it's mechanical based, it's a lot of theory. How did you come about acquiring this knowledge, and do you even understand most of it, because it's pretty deep?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking this, because sometimes I forget to mention these things. So what happened was, when I was in these experiences, it was absolute bliss. Like my body, I couldn't even feel my body. I felt so expanded. I felt I wasn't, even here, And so when I was having these experiences afterwards, I wasn't ready to just go out and tell the world, hey, I just had this blissful experiences and this and that. I wanted to understand how these experiences were happening to me and not the guy next door. What was in my body? What did my body do? What did my brain do in order to get to these experiences? Because I wanted to know how to get back there, consciously, like on purpose.
Right.
And so that, so that's the reason why I started to specifically try to discern how my cellular vibration was doing, what my brain waves were doing, what my heart wave was doing. What range of frequencies I was existing in and tapping into. I mean, now, I'm kind of summarizing all of this very quickly, but it took a long time to measure the specific frequencies that I was tapping into to understand where I ultimately began, which is what I call source. So, for example, I would, so of course, when I would have these experiences, I would research other people's experiences because, there's people doing transcendental meditation and doing, all sorts of other types of meditation and saying, oh, you get to this blissful experience, and it's, the description of the experience sounded the same. I wanted to understand the mechanics. And so then I would kind of put myself into different states and say, okay, so I would merge with the consciousness of the whole collective, planetary consciousness. And that would feel amazing compared with, the smaller planetary individual consciousness. But still, that wasn't it. Then I would put myself in a different frequency range, and I would put myself into this galactic frequency range, and then I would compare it. And that was not the same. So that I kept going and going until I kind of mapped out a range of frequencies, and I realized that where I was in a range of frequency that is universal and not planetary. This means that my consciousness was pretty much spread through the universe, like throughout the universe. So I was like tapping into very, very, very far away and larger kind of frequencies that are not here on the earth. And so that's how I developed all this technical aspect of my work by being so specific of where you want to how you focus your brain channels and how you focus your energy in your cellular vibration in order to specifically achieve certain connections, certain experiences. And I realized that the universal frequencies are the ones that are going to get you to, let's say, the main hub, what I call source. Source is kind of like the center of all of existence, of all of life. And it's like it holds the entire universal consciousness together. So when you tap into that frequency, you feel ecstatic and blissful and expanded, but that's not the same as the other types of, experiences. So that's how you have all this technical information from all of this work that I've done.
It sounds
on myself.
It sounds overwhelming. It really does, and a lot of work has gone into this. And when we come back from the break, I want to help the audience through with some definitions about, true essence, how many levels of consciousness are there, and I also get into these specific frequencies and connecting to source. We're going to do all of that right after the break, so think about all of that. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. She's live from Paris, France, everybody. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Caroline at Omnium Universe, and the links are up in Twitter right now. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Any questions for myself or Caroline, use hashtag F2BQ. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
Fade or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tepe. IRA and 401k account holders, are you crossing your fingers for the stock market to continue its bull run, or hoping for a miracle to pay off our $19 trillion national debt? American Bullion wants you to think for a moment. If we go through another significant stock market correction and things begin to unravel, you could suffer some serious losses. On the other hand, gold is a proven long-term asset that could hedge and protect your retirement accounts from getting washed away. Call American Bullion now and let them show you how easy it is to transfer your existing IRA or roll over your 401k into a gold IRA. American Bullion has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and is a leader in gold IRAs. With just one call, their experts can explain everything there is to know and get you started with a free gold IRA guide. Call 1-800-545-2525. Don't procrastinate. Save your retirement. Call American Bullion now at 1-800-545-2525. That's 1-800-545-2525.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go back, Lee Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. How you doing? Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. She's not here in L.A. She's in Paris at 4:30 in the morning, hanging out with us. And Caroline, I do have to say it's very humbling for me to have you up so early in the morning over there. And, just thank you for that. If somebody asked me to get up at 4:30 in the morning, it ain't going to happen. Right? It's just,
hey, no worries. Like I said, I'm jet lagged anyway, and so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so I'm helping you then.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Hey, Jimmy, I've been jet lagged since I got to Earth, so
Right. Well, let me ask you about that. Before I want to get to the levels of consciousness. We'll start at the feet and work up to space, right? Okay, so we'll do that in just a second. But when you talk about this contact and what you're seeing in these energies, what do you think? Is it interdimensional? Could it be otherworldly too as well? I'm leaning on maybe the ET aspect, but
What do you think, and what are you finding out?
I'm sorry, what do you mean exactly? Like when I'm tuning into when I'm seeing these other beings?
Yes. I mean, do you know where they reside or where they come from?
Oh, absolutely. In Los Angeles. Oh, I'm kidding. No. Well, actually, they do. And I'll explain in just a second. Well, actually, there are different types of beings, okay? So there are material beings that are non-human. So when people talk about grays or the short grays, the tall grays, all those types of beings. So these are material beings, obviously not human. And some of them exist physically here on the earth, within the earth, in some underground bases, but also interdimensionally. So the people who see them physically, obviously, they're connecting with them because those who are in the underground bases, but others who are existing within the earth plane. So if you can imagine, Jimmy, the earth plane is like the energy field of the planet, if you will.
Okay.
So imagine that the energy field of the planet is actually it's actually a matrix. It's like a grid system, and it goes from the core of the planet all the way to 7,000 miles above the surface of the earth, all around. So that space around the Earth, up to 7,000 miles, is like an interdimensional matrix. So all of these beings, the UFOs as well, actually, come from other systems into that space. And that's why when you are a human walking on the earth, you tap into this consciousness, these other beings very easily, because they're kind of in your space. You don't see them that much. You sense their presence, or you see them like a holographic image or transparent or something like that. That's because they are within the earth space in that way. And then there are those, of course, who are on other planets who come physically and go back. So, so there's all different types of beings doing all different types of things. And then, of course, there are the non-human ones that are, non-material beings like the angels and all sorts of different types of consciousness. I talk about those in my books because most people just are not aware of these types of beings. They are not material, and they do all sorts of different types of work. For example, they help calibrate the collective consciousness or the earth, let's say chemistry or the breathing or the of the entire planet, so they work on many different levels, and they don't appear physically at all. So you can sense those energies, again, because they're interdimensional. They're within the earth space. You connect with them like through a meditation or something like that. And then it goes on, with the beings that are on other star systems and other, even galaxies that you are tapping into, connecting with from the earth, communicating with them, while they're there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. I'm mesmerized right now. I'm just listening. What I find interesting here, I want to jump back to what you had just said. You mentioned the possibilities of some of this being holographic, right? And a representation. Would that be also something that is applied to UFOs or craft in the sky? Could that be interdimensional and holographic as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why, just a quick side note, what I was talking about before the break, I was saying all the work that I've done, myself to discern this frequency and that frequency.
Right.
Well, that helped me discern that. I mean, that's what I teach in my classes. I help people just be very, specific with what they are tuning into. Is this a real being? Is this being here? Or are you tapping into the image of the being projected from somewhere else? When you ask these questions, you start to discern and get used to, and then with time, your brain, then when you tune into like a being, after a while, right away, okay, this being is not physically here. I'm tuning into their frequency. The same with people who speak with the dead, let's say. So you could be coming in contact with an actual physical being that is interdimensional, that's positioned, like that's floating, like right above you, let's say,
right,
in another dimension. Or this exact being could be speaking to you from the Pleiades or from, I don't know, just any other planet. And through this communication grid, you feel and you sense their consciousness standing right there in front of you. You see, and that's a big difference.
Right. Could and you also mentioned angels, and we may not know the difference between. And I find that a very interesting statement with ghosts and spirits and things maybe around somebody's house. Is that the possibility of what somebody is seeing? Not necessarily, your dead mother or dead relative or an Indian burial ground, but it could be something else.
Absolutely. That's the point, is that it's to try to understand, are you really actually speaking to the grandmother? Is the grandmother actually still stuck in that room where she died, or the little girl, about all these haunted houses and things like that?
Right.
Or is it a piece of the consciousness, or is that being somewhere trapped somewhere else within the Earth grid system on the other side of the planet, but this is where she was, she died or something. So you are tuning into that aspect of their being and not the actual being. So, and it could be an angel, it could be a spirit guide, it could be all sorts of, or an ET or a gray. And so that's why, that's the reason why discernment is so important. So that's why I teach the mind mastery class, is to train yourself to sense, is this kind of being, that kind of being? Am I projecting? Am I making this up? Because that's what I did with myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was having all these experiences. The first thing I would say, I was afraid to talk about it because I realized the responsibility. When you go out and say, hey, I'm speaking with, Christ, or Jesus, or I'm channeling Jesus or something, or I see that type of being, or this and that. I mean, to me, I just felt there's a responsibility in kind of being out there talking about it. And so that's the reason why I wanted to be sure. So I wondered, wait a minute, what if I made this up? What if there's something wrong with my brain? That's the first thing I said.
Right. You don't want to be the crazy person.
Exactly. And so that's why, I took the time to do this work, so that also I help others do the same, so that when you do see a UFO or you do see a gray, was it really a gray? Was it actually, unless you see them physically, that's a different story. I'm talking when it's interdimensional, or when you are channeling this being or that being. Is it your consciousness projecting, or is it the memory of the consciousness of Jesus that you are tuning into? You see what I mean? And there is a difference. There is a difference, because sometimes it's not as accurate as you think, and the more specific information you have, the more your delivery, your understanding of it, and what you are teaching others and telling others is that much more accurate, and more precise and powerful,
And let's do that. I could stay on this. We're going to come back to this because we have to. Let's start to tie all of this together. How many levels of consciousness are there?
I mean, this is a very wide question. It's a very big question. When you say levels, do you mean what we are tapping into, or the types of consciousness? Because there's an infinite number of consciousness. So you need to tell me what you mean by consciousness levels.
Let's start at the top. How's that? Let's start at the top and go to the extreme. Let's go to universal consciousness.
Okay.
If I get to that level, can I go beyond that?
Okay. All right. I see
the answer. Yeah, the answer would be no.
I see what
right?
you mean. Okay. So then I can answer your question now in a different way. Okay. So I realize also to tie what I started to talk about in the beginning of the show, that I realized that I was tapping into universal frequencies, universal consciousness. And I realized the importance of that if you are tapping into universal consciousness, it's as if you are on top of the mountain and then you can look down and see everything. But if you're at the bottom of the mountain looking up, you won't see everything. You see that linear trajectory. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the human that can only see that much, this 3-dimensional, and you cannot see the whole thing. That's the reason why, even as a human, the human exists within planetary consciousness, meaning their human body, their human energy, their human consciousness is part of a planetary frequency range, a planetary construct. But they never disconnect ever from a galactic matrix, if you will, and a universal matrix. And so that's the reason why you are meant as a human to go from planetary to galactic to universal in order to kind of understand the whole picture of who you are, how did you get here, what are you here to do, how does it work, how do you incarnate, what is your story, all of that. You cannot understand it from the linear planetary human perspective. You have to go to the top, so to speak, top of the mountain, look down. That's the reason why I had the experiences that I had. It's for me to start the other way around, to start at the top and to understand that you start from the source, the universal frequency, and you have the bird's eye view, so to speak.
Right.
And that's how you understand, the rest of the story. And that's the reason why. That's why I realized that. In terms of meditation or enlightenment or expansion, earth energies are great. They do great things for the body. They balance certain things, yes. But you still exist within the level of consciousness that is galactic, because the earth is within a galaxy, which is within a universe. So to have the whole full picture, you have to tap into the center, the brain of all of the levels at the same time. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's why I was asking you about starting at the feet and then going up to everything, right?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
So if do we all okay, do we all start out looking up? I guess that's the easiest way I can actually put it for the audience. Do we all start out looking up, and do we even understand, are we connected at any level of consciousness when we start there?
Okay, this is a very interesting question, and I hope it's not going to be too complicated, but it's fascinating if you think about it, because on the earth, even though everybody looks human, but everybody is not necessarily human. Whoops, I said it.
Yes,
now
you did.
I'm in trouble. And so, but let me just kind of try to answer your question with that. So what happens is that there are humans, because you said, does everyone start from human going up? It depends, because even though everybody looks human, so there are beings that are, let's say, that came and incarnated to be human, but from a closer planet, like, let's say, within this galaxy, and they are, planetary, they're material beings. They used to be a Martian, or they used to be a reptilian, or they used to be something, and now they incarnated and they're human. And there are other beings who came from a different type of consciousness, from further away in space, from another galaxy, from further away within this universe. In fact, even from some other universe, from their multiverses, obviously. And so these types of beings are going to travel space differently and incarnate and show up as a human. And so their journey to reconnect, let's say, with source, with their essence, their, that core of all of existence, is going to be slightly different than the guy that used to be a reptilian on Mars or somewhere else, and that is incarnated as a human. Does that make sense? So the journey is slightly different. However, all intelligent life, even though some of it is created locally and some of it is not, eventually all of life begins at the source. So that's the reason why, regardless of how you got on Earth and how who your direct, let's say, creator is in that way, in that sense, you are still ultimately created at that source, which is the universal consciousness. So that's the reason why, even though as a human, it makes logical sense to go linearly, like first to, go to the moon and then to Mars and then push further and further in space in a linear sense.
Right.
But that's not how it works. You go straight to the core of the universe, which is the top of the mountain, and then you look down. So that's the reason why I also created the meditation called Connecting to Source, because I realized that you don't do it linearly. You don't start, by going one step at a time further up in space. And you know why? Because from this perspective, you only can see three-dimensional. So you're taking your three-dimensional perspective throughout space. You know what I mean? Like, you can only see a range of frequencies, and you can only see that much. And so when we are taking a shuttle up to the moon, we are taking our intelligence, the human intelligence and the human understanding and the human science and the human physics with us to the moon. You know what I mean? And there are other things on the moon that are beyond that, but you're not looking at those because your science doesn't include that. You see? So that's the reason why, from human upwards linearly is limited. It will never give you access to the universal bigger consciousness. It's the other way around, which doesn't make sense in a way, but that's how it really works.
And before we hit the break, let's stay right here on Connecting to Source. And you speak about 1,000 hertz, 1K hertz, 1,000 hertz. Tell us about that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so I realized as I was doing all this frequency work, I realized in order for the human body and the human brain to tap into that universal frequency, you have to get your physical vibration to 1,000 hertz. Lower than that, it's like it's too weak. Like, let's say your signal is too weak to go beyond a certain point. So that's the reason why I was mentioning in the beginning of the show, I wanted to understand why and how my body did what it did, and not the guy next door. So I realized that the human cellular frequency has to be at 1,000 hertz, meaning every cell in your body has an average frequency range, and the overall has to be 1,000 hertz. And when that happens, it's like you go through a different, like you change channels. It's, if you're on the AM channel all the time, it's like that puts you right into the megahertz, in the FM channel, like you flip to a completely different range of frequency, and that's what allows you to tap into the universal frequencies and therefore source.
And can you, when you're at that state, can you actually see, I know you referenced this in your talks, but can you see your cellular vibration and that it's all lined up? And what happens if some of your body is a little bit off?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can, so you're going to feel it. And that's the reason why, this sounds technical and complicated, but that's the reason why I created this meditation, which is, I made it also so simple. All you have to do is just do it. It's free, by the way. And, on my website, if anybody's interested. So when you follow that meditation, you don't have to worry about, 1,000 hertz or this or that. You just go through it, and then your cells kind of change there by entrainment, it's called. They start to vibrate at that level spontaneously. Now, most people are vibrating at 200, 300, a lot of time even lower than that. And so when you get to the 1,000 hertz, you're going to feel it. So most people feel, they don't really see the cells vibrating. And so the feeling is absolutely, it's a sense of floating. It's a sense of not feeling your body that much. And at the same time, you're still very much anchored. You're not doing any out of body. In fact, that defeats the purpose of doing this sort of work. And so it's a feeling that you recognize. So if you do it over and over and over, you're going to just know, okay, you are in that higher vibration, and off you go.
How much effort does it take? I know the video is, your meditation video is like 10 minutes long. Can you do it after the first walk, if you're really in tune with yourself, or is this something that comes with practice?
No, I mean, you just practice it. Most people, I've been teaching and doing this for a very, very long time. And so most people, I want to say like 98% of the people are going to feel it right away. Right. And so they're going to know what they're looking for. But the feeling is a range from feeling calmer to feeling absolutely blissful and ecstatic. And so there's a range, but the more you do it, the more you stay, you kind of reach this blissful state faster, and you recognize it right away, obviously, and you can maintain it more. So that's what happens with practice.
Let's take a break right here. When we come back, we're going to go a little bit deeper into vibration. We're going to talk about mind channel, and we're going to talk about intent. We're going to get all of that out of the way. By the time we're done, Caroline, tonight, I think we're going to have 100,000 more enlightened people out there. What do you think?
I hope so.
Let's give it our best shot. This is great stuff. Thank you so much, Caroline. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. You can follow Caroline at omniumuniverse.com or .com. That's your website. On Twitter. And, of course, I am at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Foodforliberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, New Manna is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. This is truly bespoke radio. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. Caroline actually is live from Paris. I want to say that to everybody out of respect because she is up very early in the morning and hanging out with all of us over here. Yeah, Caroline, I did a Fader fact the other day that, and it was crazy too. I didn't even realize this, but at 3 a.m., 98% of the United States is in bed. At 6 p.m., 98% of the United States is awake. Did you know that?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's why I like the evening hours.
I'm one of the 2%ers, you know. I'm on the other side of it. I don't even know what 8 a.m. is like for the country. But, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And for you over there at 4:30 a.m., technically the rest of France is in bed, right?
Yeah, 5:30.
Yeah,
but this is when I get most work done, I have to say.
Now, right. I've always been that way. I've always worked best at night, and I really had a really bad habit for a long time of like waking up at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. and working all night long. And then when the sun came up, I would look outside and see people jogging, right? And I'm going to bed. You know, and it's where I did my best stuff. It's when I did my best work. Mind channel. What is that definition? And it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's another thing that I have discovered when I was asking questions. Okay, what happened? What was going on? How could you connect with these frequencies and all of that? So I realized that other than the actual cellular vibration, meaning your body, because also I could see the energy. I can see the subtle energy around the physical brain. I could see that there were like three channels, like tubes coming out of your brain. Did you know that? So I looked at these tubes, if you will, and I noticed that they were different. They had a different tone, a different frequency, and they went to a different place. So one brain channel stays within the planetary configuration level, if you will, range of frequency. The second one goes to the galactic, and the third one allows you to tap into the universal. So that's how we can actually retrieve information from very far away in space. And so I realized that the times where I was tapping into these universal frequencies and that the source, the core space, if you will, of the universe, it's when the mind channels are perfectly aligned. And so this means that the planetary channel is aligned with the center of the planetary system. The galactic channel is tapped into the center of the galaxy, and the universal channel is aligned with the center of the universe. That's how we're supposed to manage or hold our mind channels. And of course, that cannot be done if your cellular vibration is lower than 1,000 hertz. So it kind of goes together. You raise your cellular vibration, that opens up and aligns your mind channels properly, and that's how you can retrieve information, download information, travel or establish communication with different beings that are very, very far away in space.
And intent.
Yes, intent. So, there has been a lot of work and research done on intent now for a while. And it's been verified, even scientifically, that intent is behind pretty much everything. As you know, even if you take the placebo effect, for example, people thinking and wanting to heal something, and they would heal even though they just took a sugar pill. So the intent is behind the actual creation. I also realized that there's a big difference in experience when you intend to communicate telepathically with the being, or you intend to tap into a certain frequency, as opposed to it happening to you. And people don't realize that they can do that, or they can stop an experience they don't like through, with intent. So, for example, I had all these amazing blissful experiences. I connected with amazing beings and this and that. But one time, for example, I was living in Atlanta at the time, and it was at night, and all of a sudden I saw a bunch of gray beings and some very, very strange, also other reptilian type beings and other hooded like beings. They were like right there in the corner of my space, and the energy was horrific. They were like blasting me with horrible energy. And so, of course, because I'm extremely sensitive, I could immediately discern that it was something that I didn't want. So even though it was very overwhelming, like I had to really make it an extra effort, kind of like to defend myself, if you will. I said, I don't want this. Go away. I'm not interested, So I know that it was hard, but had I not done this, I think there was a lot of damage that was actually being done. And so the intent, focusing my intent helped me kind of not absorb a lot of that information. And of course, once they were gone, I had to kind of, through intent, reverse, delete all sorts of stuff that was kind of they were trying to do. And so intent is extremely important. People think that they're helpless, or another huge myth is that aliens or ETs or something, or interdimensional beings, are stronger than you or smarter than you. They see you, you don't see them most of the time, but it doesn't make them more spiritually advanced or smarter. And your intent can still stop what you do not want. So that's a huge, important factor.
Now, I kind of want to go back to this experience where they were in your space. Were they there specifically for you?
Yes. In fact, that's why. It was specifically to create some sort of harm, and so definitely. And that's the reason why. And in fact, the next day, like I said, I realized that they did do some harm, and I had to do a lot of changing the configuration of what they've done and reverse everything. I mean, it was pretty freaky.
Yeah, well,
but you can do it. You can do it. I think a lot of people think like you're helpless, because they are powerful, because also they are powerful in the sense of sometimes they catch you at a bad time. And going back to vibration, which is another huge important point, when your vibration is low, or when you are confused about things, or when you are afraid of all of these things, your vibration invites those things, because, as everybody's heard of the law of attraction, that's how it works. So if I'm afraid and I have a belief system that this guy can take over my mind, then that's what's going to happen, because, you're vibrating, you're sending an energy of fear, which is very, very low vibration, and he's feeding on that. So that's the reason why not only your intent helps, but also quickly raising your vibration, switching to this 1,000 hertz. Even instantly you can do that if you train to do that, if you know to do that, if you remember to do that. And when you are at this higher vibration, there's no longer a match,
It's are we, when you talk about this connection and the upload and the download, is this the same as channeling as with channelers, and when they are channeling a specific being, is it the same thing or is it different?
Yeah, different channels do different things. So some channelers, a lot of the channelers don't really know how the mechanics work. They just sense the energy, and they know they're tuned into a being. And then that energy, the information that they're getting from that being, gets transferred into their brain, into their mind channels. And then that information is downloaded, translated into human language. So like I was saying in my very first experience, it's they are kind of transferring the information from that entity into their brain, and their brain does the downloading, like from a thought form into a human language that they can write down or say, as a channeler. So that's how some channelers work. Other channelers, they take on an entity. So, for example, some of them channel, Saint Germain or something.
Right.
And so they let that consciousness actually take over their body, and that consciousness speaks through their body. So, every channeler does it differently. But also, I have to say, as a side note, and, this is not to criticize anybody's work or anything like that. Please don't take it that way. I'm just trying to bring as much knowledge and information. Sometimes the channelers are actually tapping into their own higher self. It's like that's how we were saying earlier, they're not really downloading information from Jesus or something, but it's their memory of Jesus or their higher consciousness that can tap into that memory or the consciousness of Jesus. So that's not the same thing, because they're actually just downloading information from their own higher consciousness. You see what I mean?
I do.
So, yeah.
And how would one know who they are engaging with? Right?
$1 million question.
Yes, of course.
Training. That's what this work is about. That's why I created this whole methodology, because that's what happened to me. I never had a teacher, like a human teacher.
Right.
I've had those beings floating around in my space talking to me. So I was like, okay, this feels great, but who are you and how does it work? Like, I mean, in relation to everything else, and how do I discern? And, so then there were other beings coming through. And so that's why you have to first of all, intend to discern, to say, I want to know the being that's next to me. I mean, I want the being that I'm tapping into. If I'm tapping into my own higher consciousness and bringing this amazing knowledge, great, so be it. But then that's what it is. And if I'm tapping into an extraterrestrial who's just telling me cool stuff, then that's what it is. Let's not make him, an angel or something else. So that's why this discerning work is so important, because it helps you in everything. And sometimes you receive information that, is okay, but then because it's a little bit outside your range, then you kind of put that being on a pedestal, so to speak, and then you start to rely on that information, The
matrix, right? That 7,000 miles out and in, right? The matrix that is crisscrossing the Earth, and these lines of energy, do they crisscross and intersect into specific? I don't want to sound juvenile here, but to hot spots, are there certain places on the Earth where there are more entities or beings present?
Oh man, your questions are awesome. Yeah, this is called the planetary grid. This is something else that I've kind of realized that I was perceiving all of these like crisscrossing within space. I was like, what's going on here? What am I looking at?
Right.
So it was very similar to the energy field of a being, but a lot more complex. So then at one point I focused on that, and I realized that this energy that wraps around the planet, like I said, it goes up to 5,000 to 7,000 miles above the surface of the Earth, and it ties right at the core. It's like a whole global matrix, let's say. And this grid is actually 3 grids. It's 3 grids within one big grid. And obviously it's all geometric, and obviously the 3 grids are coherent. I mean, they're all kind of interconnected, interrelated, and they join at specific crossroads, if you will. So when how people talk about ley lines and things like that. Okay, but the ley lines are on the surface of the Earth. So, we're not two-dimensional. We are multidimensional. So those points on the ground actually correspond to that bigger grid system that wraps around the planet. And so there are 12 main, let's say, highways, if you will. When those intersections line up in at those 12 points, you create a sort of highway. You create a massive opening from the core of the planet all the way out into space. So every highway, if you will, of these 12 go to a specific point within space. So some of them go to the center of the planetary system. Others go specifically and directly to the center of the galaxies. Others go to obviously to the center of the universe. And so, if you are on the Earth and you happen to be right you're standing on the surface of the Earth, but you are right within that alignment, it is as if you are standing on that highway. And so you are going to have those types of beings show up using those highways, if you will. And that's, so that's why it is related to UFOs and ETs. Certain types of ETs are going to show up in different places. And then from there, of course, once you're within the planet, you can go other places, but to travel, that's how they travel. And
is one of these points, I don't think I'm reaching here, but is one of these points above Giza, above the pyramids?
Yes, that is a galactic, it's a galactic connection through Orion. I mean, people have heard this before, yes. But this is a communication line. So I was saying that this grid system is actually 3 grid systems, so together. So one grid system is for communication. It's like a communication matrix. So the entire planet is connected through this communication matrix that communicates technically with the entire galaxy and then with the entire universe. That's how communication can happen from very far away in space into someone's brain right here on the Earth. And so Giza has this center point of this communication grid, the highway, that goes straight up into the galactic center through Orion. But other spots, for example, or the other grids, another grid is the transport grid. Transport grid meaning you transport your actual being from point A to point B within the Earth space, or from, if you're coming from Sirius B or somewhere else, well, you're going to use the transport grid. The UFOs use the transport grid. So, you're not using, you're transporting a physical apparatus, like a spaceship or something. And the third grid system is the time-space. So the time-space is what gives you the impression, the illusion, or the experience of existing within time-space. So this grid system gives you the sense of living within time-space, of being able to teleport or transport using transport system, or communicate throughout the universe. And so Giza is the communication hub, if you will. Other spots are time-space hubs, and other spots are transport hubs. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It's so funny, Caroline. I often say after this show, I feel a little smarter. So I think I'm grasping it. I really am, and the visuals, the way that you paint it, is really good for the audience. And we've been talking a lot about frequencies. What about colors, and how do they come into play?
Yeah, colors are obviously light frequencies. I mean, so on Earth, what happens? Actually, this is, your questions are awesome, because they're kind of actually gradually taking one concept to the next. So, because we're talking about the grid system. So now, imagine this grid system that's around the Earth, that's giving you the Earth experience. You are on the Earth, you have a sense of time, space. You also are now existing within a frequency range of colors. So why? Because beyond this planetary system, this planetary grid, the planetary grid is coherent with the human brain. That's how the human brain. That's how you have an earthly experience, a planetary experience, because your brain is coherent with that grid. It's like the same grid is inside your brain. And so what happens is this grid system is actually purposeful. It is for the entire planet to remain in communication, in contact with the rest of the universe. In other words, every single planet, every single star, imagine, every single planetary system has a grid. And every grid is coherent with every grid in existence. And all the grids are, you know what I mean, within bigger grids and bigger grids. That's the hologram. So the idea is that the universal grids holds all of the information together, all of the grids together. And so when you have the center, the source of creation, the divine intelligence, the creator intelligence for those who like that word, but that source, the cosmic mind for those who relate to that, from the universal center, in order for that intelligence from the universe to remain connected with the rest of creation, it uses this grid system. So that information is a bunch of frequencies. Let's say, I'm simplifying here, but just visualize or imagine that that powerful information, that's universal information, that's all knowingness, if you will, is coming from the source and coming to the earth. It's going through the grids and it's coming to the earth. So when it reaches the planetary grid of the earth, it fractures. It goes through, it's like a prism. It's like a light that hits a prism, it fractures. So the light outside the prism is a certain tone, but inside the prism, it fractures into a different set of frequencies. So if you're inside the prism, meaning inside the planetary grid, you're going to see primary colors. You're only going to see, the red, blue, and green, right? And your brain is going to absorb only that range of colors and frequencies. But actually, beyond that, it's the universal frequencies, is all the colors or all the ranges that you are not tapping into right here on the earth. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. It does. It does. I'm watching Twitter right now and the chat rooms. Everybody is fully engaged, Caroline.
Awesome. Cool. I didn't lose anybody. It could get overwhelming, but I'm trying to be as clear as possible. Of course, I that's why I teach that, because you write it in the books, but it stays pretty overwhelming. And at the end of the day, you really have to experience it, so that's why my work's very experiential. When we go into, for example, this sort of information, we say, okay, so now let's experience this grid. Let's feel it in the body, and that's a whole different dynamic as well. So I'm glad people are okay.
Well, I can't wait until you come back to the United States, and I can only imagine what the conversation would be like with you and my wife Rita, and a good dinner and a bottle of wine. It would just be absolutely insanity, and we will do that soon. Let's take a break right here, and I've been trying for the audience to try to get all of this together, because when we come back, we're going to talk about Caroline's film, which is called I Am the Universe, I Am Love. And I just got to say, everybody needs to watch it. And I want to talk about the concept of the film and the visuals, the music, and how all of that was put together, because it is truly amazing. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Caroline Cory. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Everybody stay right there. You know what? We're almost out of time, Caroline. What a conversation this has been tonight. And I promise it's all going to come together in this next break. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. HydroCare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfide, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Fate or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory, and her website is omniumuniverse.com. You can just go to jimmychurchradio.com and just click on Caroline's name right there, and her website is there, and you can go check out. She has a lot of videos there, a lot of presentations, and it's a great website, so you can go and check that out. And Caroline, before we move on, are you speaking anywhere over here in the States anytime soon?
No, actually, because I'm focusing on, I'm doing a film, actually, a documentary. So I'm not going to be speaking for a while. We're going to be filming, actually, when I get back to LA next week. This documentary, actually, it's called Gods Among Us, and it covers all these topics we've been talking about, mostly about alien or extraterrestrial presence on the Earth and how we're communicating with them and things like that. So I'm going to be focusing on this until the movie is done and out.
How close are you? At what stage in the film are you right now?
We've already filmed a small part, but we are starting. We are resuming with filming in October. As soon as I get back, we're gonna keep filming, and we will be in post as of December. So it'll be out in March sometime. But we also are doing a bit of a crowdfunding to be able to get that to the next level. So, but all this information, we'll put it on our website, our entertainment media website as well. But the film, I thought it would be interesting to call it Gods Among Us, even though it's about discerning who is actually the God here.
Right.
So this is. Yeah.
Very interesting concept behind that. And when you're ready to go and you need our help for the crowdfunding or the announcements or anything like that or any links, let us know. And we'll take care of it on our end.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. So I Am the Universe, I Am Love. When I first saw it, this is what I was thinking. I thought, okay, holy crap. How did she get this done, right? Because the visuals are off the hook. So there's that. And then it's, of course, it's the message behind the film. That's the core thing. But the way that you present it with the music and your narration and how it comes together is pretty extraordinary. But it's a huge project. How did you pull that off? And how did you get these? Where? I'm being serious too. It's a very it's a nice, aesthetically, visually appealing film to watch. You get sucked into it. How did you get that done?
Yeah, it's an all CG film. So it's animation, but there's no characters in that sense. So what I wanted to do is put all of this information, meaning those frequencies, those lining the mind channels, the higher vibration, all of this. I wanted to package it in a fun and dynamic way through light and colors and sounds, because I realized as I was teaching and helping different people, the attention span, as you well know, is very narrow, and not everybody wants to know how to heal or need to understand the mechanics. They just want to have the experience of it. So in terms of meditation, I created that very simple version of Connected to Source, but I wanted to put the frequencies into colors and sounds so that when people watched those images and sounds, they just spontaneously resonated, like their cells would naturally, organically vibrate, raise the vibration and align the mind channels as we were speaking.
Right.
So I did the test first. I did short videos that I call apps. I created apps. They're very short. There's like a minute to 3 minutes. And I tested that. We tried it in a classroom, and people were right away feeling calm, expanded, headaches going away, instant reaction. I was like, oh yes, something's happening here. So because I tested it that way, I knew that I was doing the right thing, if you will, from a technical point of view. And I decided to do a whole film. Now, as you just said it, 45 minutes of CGI is not that easy.
No. When you watch, look, I want the audience to understand, when you watch this, it's the first thing that's going to pop into your mind is, this is an army of people. The production to get something like this done, it looks to be over just crazy work. And so, how did you have how many animators were involved?
I don't remember now, but I think a good dozen animators. I don't know, not that many in terms of Hollywood, but what happened is that I picked the animators that could do different things, because, when people think of animation, in Hollywood, like every animator does one thing, one piece of the scene, but I picked the people who could, like I said, like do more together, because obviously I'm just by myself and it wasn't a Hollywood budget as well. So, but what happened was, I was working, also I picked animators who work in Hollywood, by the way. I mean, so this is very top level work and quality.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And so I kind of I wrote the scenes, if you will, and in a certain way, and I kind of discussed every scene with the animators, and I also had to work with them energetically, if you will, because they had to understand that the concept behind it, that it wasn't just colors, it wasn't just tones, it was a whole experience. So I wanted them to feel what that was like. So I would send them a very detailed description of that scene. I would say, well, imagine that you are in that sort of space and your body's feeling this and you're seeing that sort of thing. So they got it, and they got into it, you know. And of course I was very specific with colors and tones. So I would say, you know, it has to be specifically that tone of pink or purple or what have you. The wave has to do this specifically. And I did the editing myself, and I followed a specific geometry and a mathematical rhythm. So all of this work is in the background. You don't realize, but it has a very specific kind of rhythm, you know, if you will.
Wait, let me jump in right there. You just said you did the editing on this film.
Yeah.
You yourself.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Not really. Speaking of
wait. Stop, Caroline. Stop right there. For those that haven't seen the film, when you said something a minute ago that was interesting, which is you've got, you know, Hollywood, you've got people in the industry doing this animation, true professionals. It is at that scale. And when you look at this, don't sell yourself short. It is a genuine production. It's got a look and feel that is extraordinary. But what I didn't have, and I thought, no, I did not know that you edited the film, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I taught myself how to use Final Cut.
What?
Yeah, I figured it out. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just kind of, that's how it works when you align your brain channels, Jimmy.
Wow.
When you raise your vibration, you do things faster, I suppose. You tap into things. Yeah. I was playing with Final Cut, and then I just realized, you know, I could do some tricks, and then I just kind of figured it out.
Well, because it's seamless. I'm going to say that right now. We're talking about editing, and it's seamless. And when you are going through, it's very atmospheric, right? And you've got these different, what's the word? Worlds. I'll just say it. Worlds, universes that you're taking everybody through. And all of that is seamless, and it just seems to me that it came together, and it's cohesive, and it makes sense. And if you would have to have all of these animators on the same page. They need to understand the concept that is behind it, and each one of these atmospheres communicates the story going into every other scene. Everybody, you need to understand, this is an animation. This is a CG film. There is no live acting. And there's a lot of work that goes behind that. But the message is clear, and it's there. And you did the editing. I'm blown away.
Yeah, I didn't think I did such a good job, but thank you. I thought I managed, but thank you for saying that. But yeah, going back to what you said, it's like it was specifically written so that scene after scene, so that the viewer can right away feel that they began at the source, the way we've been discussing. Just by watching these images, and basically track travel through the space and making their way back to where they are today. So instead of using a meditation or a teaching or speaking or whatever, you just watch these images and these tones and colors, and your body kind of the cellular vibration kind of you is stimulated and is awakened to that experience. So by the end of the film, you feel like your whole body's been recalibrated. Your whole consciousness is so expanded, and you're just perfectly aligned with the whole universe. It's a great experience. I'm also
Well, what about? I don't want to let this get away from me either. What about the music and all of the atmospheric sounds that are in the film too? Where did all of that come from?
Yeah, I worked with my very good friend and student, a colleague, his name is Fritz, and another couple of folks, Gordon. And now these guys do this work with me. I mean, like, they totally understand universal frequencies and the different types of frequencies. So we sat down and we brought that music really energetically. It had to be specific tone, specific range. It had to have also, for those who understand music, you are a musician, what am I saying?
Right.
There are different, what do you call those? Layers. I mean, like, every instrument is on one, what do you call those?
Track.
Yeah, exactly. So there were like specific tracks that were added that you don't actually hear, but they're, are actually quite specific. I mean, so we worked technically with sacred geometry, with mathematical rhythm and things like that to create those tones. So these guys are very, very conscious and aware about this work. So we work together on this to create the music. It's amazing, isn't it?
Are you happy with the film?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. The only thing that I feel sorry about is that, to me, I feel that this could be something like a future way of cinema. Like, I call this experiential cinema, where you're no longer watching human drama. You're just experiencing colors and tones, and you have the experience of the story. You know what I mean? You're just feeling within yourself what the story is, which is because what's going to happen is that as you watch it, you're going to recreate cellularly the experience of you making your way back to Earth, which is going to be different than your wife or your neighbor, and because it's kind of reawakening to your own remembrance. And so that's why I wish there's a place in let's say entertainment for this sort of thing, because I think this could be very, very cool way of doing cinema.
How did the animators end up reacting to it if they didn't know about universal consciousness and what you and I talk about and understand? Were they able to connect and to understand, and did they appreciate the film for what it was in the end?
Oh, absolutely. Like, for example, because they really loved the concept, So, for example, the ones who were working on the Sea of Glass.
Oh,
so
that's my favorite scene.
I know. Actually, that's on my website. That's the backdrop. And so the guys the guy who did that, for example, I had to explain that the Sea of Glass is a surface where all of the communication within the universe gets distributed evenly to the rest of the universe. So, and it comes in photons of light, and it gathers on the Sea of Glass, and the entire universe can see the information. It's like broadcasting the news in light at this surface. So just the concept of it, like, he was so into it. It was so cool. And then I let them kind of be creative with how they want to do that. As long as it's, fits with the actual concept, of course. And they totally got into it. The crystal universe.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy was like, he just loved it. he added certain things that he started to kind of imagine and see, and it turned out great. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and say it. I'm just going to say it now. That transition between the crystal universe and the sea of glass, that whole thing, it's like this. Whoa, dude. Dude, it's like that, man. It's really well done. I got a question that just came in Twitter, and the question is, how does all of this end up linking up with the Merkaba?
Yeah, so the Merkaba is more of the human configuration, and that is also geometry that also links within, that's supposed to be coherent with the geometry of the planetary grid. Meaning, when you are aligned and you're focusing on the Merkaba, you're basically focusing on the basic geometry of the planet / the galaxy / the universe. That's how you expand to that level. So it's just a different angle, to say it, if you will. But it's more like I said, the human construct. But if I can say, I don't want to go crazy with that topic, but I just want to say real quick that this geometry of the human body, human brain, that is coherent with the planetary grid that I mentioned earlier. I just want to say that the reason why there's so much confusion on this planet and so much misery and suffering and things like that is because that grid was tampered with. And so if I was saying earlier that the communication from the entire universe comes to Earth through the grid, gets distributed to every human being on the planet evenly. That's the purpose of it. But if I come in and I put a big block in one of those highways, or few of those highways, or all of the highways, well, the people on the planet are not going to receive that information. So that's the reason why we see what we see on the Earth today, or we have been anyway. And I'm just mentioning this for people to understand that even though they could be experiencing certain things in their daily life, because of this geometry, that larger cosmic, let's say, structure, by going beyond, by tuning into the universal frequency, by tapping into that source, it's like you're bypassing this whole matrix, and you can then find your balance, you can find your healing, you can find your whole guidance, so that's why I just wanted to mention that real quick as well, in terms of the Merkaba also being geometry.
And we talked a lot about 1,000 hertz. Is there another frequency or frequencies that you can also use to connect with?
Well, the 1,000 hertz, actually it goes from 734 all the way to 1,000 hertz. So it doesn't have to be just specific 1,000 hertz. So anything within that range is good enough to open you up to the rest of the galactic and then universal frequencies and align you properly. So there's that. But I would say, just intend, again, because we're simplifying for people who are just listening to this. If you focus your physical body, if you just intend for your body to go to 1,000 hertz, but in terms of also frequencies, just ask to be aligned and tapped into the frequency of source at the center of the universe. And that, just by you saying that, intending that, you kind of start to shift in that way as well.
And why 734?
That's how when I was doing my homework myself, I just kind of kept going, where are the human body at this stage, and where is this person vibrating right now? I could see the big blob of fear, around the liver or around the heart or this and that. And I could see what that vibration was. And I kept going up and saying, shifting it to 200 and then 300 and then 400. So I kept kind of training myself to discern. And then at 734, it was like a complete shift. It's like you switched channels. It was a completely different channels of frequency. So that's how it came out.
And I can't. Oh, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to hang on for another 10 minutes after this next break because I want to talk about I want to talk about ancient aliens and ancient alien theory and lost history. I want to jump into that a little bit. But before we get there, the source of all creation, the creator, what for you? What is the answer to that question?
Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm glad you asked that. Let's see if I can summarize it real quick. But, it's the first and foremost, it's an energy, it's a consciousness. And so that you realize that is the infinite consciousness of all of the existence. So within that, I actually teach that, and I describe that specifically in the books, by the way, for people who are interested in going into details. But from that energy, which is just pure energy, then you have physical energy, you have consciousness energy, but you also have personalized energy. In other words, there's a form of energy that can personalize into a being consciousness. So that being consciousness feels like what we call creator, like a in certain religions, when you talk about, the Father and the Christ or the Prophet and all that whole line of things, is personalized energy. So that's how we it's like all of it together. It's not just a personalized energy and a God and a divine Father or a cosmic mind, like a mind floating. It's both, you see. But certain people became allergic, to the whole creator, personalized aspect because of the religions. They're like, I don't think there's a guy in the sky. But think about it this way. You are an intelligent being. You know what I mean? Like just from talking about fractals and how you come about from something that's similar, simplifying things. So there has to be at the top of the line, let's say, a similar type consciousness that kind of made you into the personalized being that you are. But you are also a form of energy that is pure energy. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and it does. So does that go back all the way to the beginning of everything? Whether we're talking about the Big Bang or the creation of the universe or any of the universes, because I agree with you, there's plenty of it's an infinite amount of universes out there. But But if we go back to the beginning of everything, then is that an intelligence that is an energy that started it all there, or was it by accident?
No, it's not by accident at all. And the Big Bang is physical energy manifesting. So, so from the pure energy form, which is actually infinity itself, then that energy kind of coerces, it crunches into the first existence, the first consciousness, awareness, if you will. And then from that, it continues to other forms of energy. And eventually, one of these forms of energy is physical energy. And only that tiny piece, which is not that tiny, creates the Big Bang. I mean, the universes and the multiverses, which, by the way, contains hundreds of thousands of universes, physical universes, and billions of stars and planets, etc. But that's just one tiny piece of the main source energy.
And where does the intelligence manifest? Where does it has to start somewhere?
Infinity.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's one of those things, and that's one of the things that's beyond the human linear mind. That's why people have to experience that. It's something that you just feel and get at a like cellular level. It's not something, I mean, you try to explain it a little bit, but when you feel it, you get it.
Right,
You know,
right.
so-
I'm getting there. Okay, let's take a break. And when we come back, I do want to talk about ancient aliens, ancient alien theory. I actually want to discuss that with you a little bit. And I want to talk a little DNA. So can we do that right after the break?
Sure, absolutely.
Caroline Cory. Her website is omniumuniverse.com. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Great conversation tonight. Do you feel a little smarter? I do. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. I'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Caroline Cory. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Caroline at Omnium Universe. Her website is www.omniumuniverse.com. Now, Caroline, I want to talk a little DNA. And have you had yours checked? And I'm starting to think after this show tonight that you're only part human. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. But have you had your DNA tested?
No, not really. But I think the tests are not that accurate anyway. I think you have to do some very complex. The typical ones don't get you there. I mean, don't give you the answers anyway.
Okay. And when we talk about DNA reconfiguration, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so what happens is that DNA is information. It's the information that is given to the cell to tell it how to behave. You know, it tells it to move this way to that frequency. You have to give the person blue eyes, blonde hair, what have you. You know, I mean, it makes the behavioral. It's like the software, if you will. And I realized that when I was working with some people, so when they got sick, their DNA changed. In fact, that's also a scientific evidence. The certain types of illnesses change the DNA, destroy the DNA, and change it in certain ways. So I was like, okay, so if it changes, if it destroys the DNA, this means the DNA is changeable. So instead of giving it the frequency of the illness, I can give it another frequency and change it in the other direction. And of course, I tested that over and over, and that perfectly works. And so so part of the healing methodology is DNA reconfiguration, and you basically tune into the cells of the, let's say, the imbalance that you have, the organ that's not functioning, and you find out what is in the DNA that's making it behave this way. A lot of people think also it's genetic. I mean, like from the parents, like you have to have the same thing. I don't agree. And even if that information is there, you can change it. It does change. I've changed, and I've helped people change all sorts of, I don't know, things, patterns, illnesses, addictions by changing that DNA. So, and when you change the DNA, you change the behavior of the cell, therefore the organ, therefore the illness goes away. That's how it works.
And what about traits? Can you alter that too as well?
You actually can. You mean like physical traits?
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually, to a certain extent. I mean, the more you work with your genes, what happens is that with the DNA also is the cellular information that you put in. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I can't do this. I'm angry at the world, and I hate my mother, whatever, you know. So my point is, as you are trying to reconfigure your DNA, you have also all this other information that is in the way. Part of it is, I would love to have blue eyes, but I can't because it's impossible for me. You know what I mean? So you have to work through that in order to get to actually changing physical traits. But you can change personality traits much easier because it's like psychologically it seems more feasible to people.
And staying on the DNA train, did we get altered? And I'm going to stay specific on this. When we go back to 150,000 years ago and we talk about the famous missing link, right? And that transition that we don't know how we became who we are, upright, thinking, laughing, intelligent beings that we are now. Did somebody go in and alter our DNA at that point to make us who we are today?
Yes, actually, this is exactly what happened. So, but it's not everybody, and and also it was done in different times in different ways. So, the actual original human DNA, in fact, every intelligent species DNA does not come from locally. Like it comes always from source, as we were saying earlier.
Right.
So that original pure human DNA was created, invented, out of that pure original source and implanted on the planet. And so that first one is usually it's like a test, like it didn't make it, if you will, because it wasn't strong enough. Then there was another one, and then a third one, and The third one is the one that survived, if you will, but it was still very juvenile. And I talked a little bit earlier before the break about dismantling the grid system.
Mhm.
Well, that's what happens, because if there are beings that can manipulate the grid system, I also mentioned that the grid system is coherent with the brain, the human brain. So if I dismantle the network, the software that holds your brain, then your brain starts to be dismantled. Certain parts of your brain is no longer functioning properly. So that's how the manipulation started, by manipulating the bigger computer software so that whoever was within it started to feel weaker and, unable to communicate and to reconnect on their own. So that's what we call the prison planet or what have you. So that whole container tapped into first the brain of the species, and then gradually there were some actual DNA experiments and manipulation. So, but also, there are certain types of beings that are not local. I mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
And those types of beings continued to come in, and these were not necessarily affected. They lost their way, but their DNA was not necessarily affected. So, in other words, today there's a little bit of everything. There are humans who are completely manipulated, meaning their DNA is half alien. There are beings that are mostly alien DNA that are not still a human, that are coming in, through strange births and stuff like that. And there are, in other words, there is not a human that's a pure breed human, though some of the newer beings coming through are carrying this pure, newer human frequency DNA. So there's a little bit of everything going on. So we can't say that everybody's being manipulated. You know what I mean?
And exactly. And these jumps that we've had in technology and intelligence, and you can look in a linear fashion and pinpoint these specific dates. Were those moments in our history, whatever they were, whether it's fire, farming, language, math, astronomy, all the way through to today, were all of these downloads through the grid to our brain on the mind channel, to be specific points in our history?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's how it works. And but technically, you're supposed to do it yourself. This is like the perfect scenario, the actual real scenario, if you will. You are a human with the proper mind channels. You're tapping into universal consciousness. You are downloading the higher intelligence, the future of technology, or the future of spirituality, or how to master your brain, master the human mind, master your body. You are doing that in a direct manner. That is the real purpose of human existence. But what happens is that because we get on the earth and it's a big of a mess, and then we get carried away with the collective consciousness, and there's a little bit of everything going on, and dismantling of the grid and DNA and this and that. So you lose your way. So you're going to have other people helping you. So either you have spirit guides that are on the way reminding you, hey, remember that mathematical thing that you were supposed to download at this particular time, and you receive it in a dream or in a download, and this happens. So, but it's still within your story, within your lineage. But sometimes, humans are completely stuck, and you have more of an interference. You have an actual, group of beings, depending on their agenda, making that future technology happen by telling, downloading information to people's brains, or through dreams and visions and things like that. So that's why you also see those who are downloading information and seeing the future of the human species as artificial intelligence, and you have the other types of people who see the future of the human species as a highly evolved, pure consciousness, spiritual type of species.
Yeah, well, exactly, and this is so great, man. My brain's going a million miles a minute right now. As a futurist yourself, where do you see us in? Let's go with the short term, 10 years, but then let's jump out to 100. Where do you see us? Are we going to come together as a collective consciousness and get our act together, or are we about to blow it?
Yeah, actually, the range is more about 250 years.
Oh, okay.
Because 10 years is nothing. It's like a split second in terms of universal time. So I think there's nothing much going on in terms of the whole species in the next 10 years. But all of this, like I said, this pure breed keeps coming in, especially since the year 2000, and other beings also have been here before then, are carrying this pure form of the future human species with them, and that will continue over the next few generations for another, I would say, 175 to 235 years. So that is when that new pure human species that is consciousness-based, spiritual-based, that sort of evolution will continue over that period of time. The other types of beings that are still coming in and doing all sorts of stuff, it's like, I think gradually is actually being dismantled, because what's happening is that energy carries its own momentum, so if you have a certain types of energy that goes against creation, well, it's going to uncreate itself. When you are interfering with a species' free will, then you are not allowing it to choose life. You are telling it what you want it to be. That is, again, goes against universal laws. So that it goes against creation itself. You're not allowing that species to create. And therefore, you as a consciousness being against creation or misaligned with creation, you are going to uncreate yourself. So those energies along those 250 years are going to gradually, in big chunks, going to self-destruct. This means that maybe 35 years from now, we're going to see a huge chunk of that crash. Even sooner, 15 years, I would say, a small chunk, 35 years, a bigger chunk, 57 years, a bigger chunk. You see what I mean? Along the other trajectory. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And is there somebody, a group inside of our government, let's just go with the United States for now, not globally, that also has this very same knowledge, and they are withholding it from us? Not necessarily the UFO question, but the universal information. And are they holding it back from us?
But if they are tapping into universal consciousness and they're aligned, then they could not withhold it, because that is truth. They would be speaking if you are truth and you are vibrating in truth, then part of that truth is to disclose, is to just tell. So if they are holding something back, then they're not in this pure energy form, or they're not awakened to it properly, or they're not there yet.
Well,
so,
they're politicians, Caroline. We know they're not pure.
Yeah, exactly. And part of this, real quick, that the energy that is self-destructing along the way, part of this is also all of these beings we talked about 250,000 years ago, when all of this manipulation started to happen and the creation of new DNA and new types of beings started to exist on the earth. Well, these beings that that started this manipulation that are still stationed here are also having to leave. This is the time that it's like their contract is over, if you will, and it's a bit complicated by kind of certain laws, like universal laws, like they have to start to wrap up and go. And so there's a whole kind of agreement that is coming to an end, and this will facilitate some of the creations, the things that they have created, the system they have created, products they've created, technology they've created. As they leave, these will crumble. That's how it kind of goes together, because they are holding all of this negative information, this misaligned information in physical form. So that's what's happening too in the background. And going back to certain government officials, I don't think there's maybe like one person or two that gets it at that level. A lot of them are part of the manipulation, if you will. Like they're convinced that they have to create these products. They're convinced that they really believe that that's what they're supposed to be doing, and very few are actually understanding the even larger picture and doing it on purpose. You see what I mean? Like there's a level of how much they really get in the government.
Well, and I know that you're in tune with popular culture and what's going on around us. And when we have, Obama and Hillary and Bill and Podesta, over the last year, bringing up aliens in popular culture. That's a curious thing to have happen all at once when it's never really been like that before.
Yeah, exactly. It's all part of the what's happening in the background. This is all coming to an end, that whole agreement, if you will. They came to Earth, they were supposed to do things, they did something else, and now, okay, it's time to move on. And so a part of that, as you dismantle that, the people that were following, that were attached to that consciousness, if you will, to that whole story, they are starting to kind of gravitate towards the the truth, if you will, or the other type of consciousness within, reason. Obviously, they're not going to come out and say the whole thing. And also, don't forget, like I said, they're not that conscious. They don't really understand the whole picture. They just know a piece of it, not because they're politicians that they really know. They're manipulated just like everybody else. And so so that's why it's pretty complex, and we can't put it all in one. Not everybody's all together on this or understanding it at the same level. But also, as a side note, maybe, I don't know, but people talk about disclosure coming from the government. I don't think the government is capable of such disclosure. They're going to disclose certain things. Like, for example, they're going to disclose the UFO files. They're going to say, yes, in the 1950s, we did this. And, but that could be it. I think the real disclosure is the beings who are themselves, carrying certain information or certain knowledge, certain DNA, to come out themselves. To me, that is the real disclosure, and that's the truth. Like, this is the real people talking. It's not somebody talking about them. So that's also how I see that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I have, and a lot of this, thousands, if not millions of people have seen things that are not us, in the skies, in their living room, whatever. And we know, right? We know that there's something going on. So as far as a disclosure goes, Obama making an announcement on television, no, but I don't need that. And I don't think the rest of us do either. We already know that there's something going on. Whether they know or not, or whether they're going to talk about it, that's a whole nother story. But we actually know the truth.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's been going around for so many years now. I mean, and that's another reason why I'm doing this film. Like I said, Gods Among Us is not disclosure at all, and it has nothing to do with government conspiracy. It's just who are the beings that are here, and who is who, and why, and how is this whole communication been happening throughout the years, and especially today. So.
Wow.
So,
Listen, I'm just going to say right now, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait for part 2. Get over here, get your film finished, get back on the show, and let's continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yes, I told you. I warned you. I warned you. Thank you so much, Caroline. Be safe over there and safe travels back home.
All right, love. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Caroline Cory, everybody. Now, her website is omniumuniverse.com. That's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on her name. The information is there. The bio is there. Go and do that. Also, you can follow her on Twitter at Omnium Universe. Caroline Cory. Very intelligent. Now, conversation. I actually want to back up and comment on a couple of things about our conversation tonight. The one thing that I find fascinating that is going on is Earth is 4.5 billion years old. And a couple of weeks ago, I had done a report on the show about a fossil that was 3.7 billion years old. And once this planet became habitable, was covered with water, and we had an atmosphere, and it was raining, and the temperature cooled down, it became a beacon. It was bright. It was blue. It was shining. And with that 500 million years, the rest of the universe, the rest of the solar system, the rest of everything, the milk, everything else, just like we're looking, they're looking too. And we are part of this grid. So everything is connected, the electronic universe, right? Everything is connected. They knew that we were here. And the point that I always want to drive home, and which Caroline did tonight a few times, is this. We are at the last, she said it, what's 10 years? It's a blip. 10 years is nothing. And in the last 2,000 years, look how far we have come. In the last 2,000 years, the evidence of us being here that we go and look for that's older than 10,000 years old or 20,000 years old, the evidence of that, it becomes more and more scarce. It disintegrates. And if you back up from this point right now and you back up on this planet 1 million years and you go to 1 million years ago, right? To now, there would be no evidence of anything being here. And if somebody's been here and has visited, we have no idea how many times this has happened over and over again. And it is something that we need to constantly talk about. And she brings up some very, very good points that I think that we all need to start to realize. And we are. And that's the beauty of all of this. We come here, we learn, we have the internet, we have our friends, we have our communities. And when we have a guest on like Ms. Cory and she presents this information, we know that this is not the stuff that we have been taught. We know that there is something else going on. And we just go back and look and investigate and question. And we start to find out that, wait a minute, we have been taught something else. This is not what I understand. This is not what I see. I know that there is something else going on here, and we're not being fed the truth. That is the beauty of this show and having a guest on like Caroline Cory. And that was a remarkable conversation tonight, and I'm demanding that everybody listen to this show again. And I can't wait till she's back on with us. Tomorrow night is Open Lines right here. We have John Rappaport back with us, and there's no more fake newsroom. Again, I want to thank Caroline Cory Her website is omniumuniverse.com. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamurian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Fady is by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.